Welcome back. Will Worsham joins us now for this week's Speaking Legal discussion, where we answer a viewer's legal question on air. So let's take a look at today's question. I have a former employee who filed a criminal complaint against me. I had nothing to do with their claim, but my assistant manager did. He is willing to confess, but the investigators really don't seem interested in listening. Will the police still charge me even if someone else is trying to do the right thing and take responsibility? Will?
Well, there's a whole lot of stuff in that question.
There is, and I wish I had a little more information, too.
Yeah, it's kind of like always. We always wish we had a little more information. Which
we just get the surface, kind of.
And, you know, hey, that's a great reason to sit down with a lawyer. So the lawyer can ask the questions, you can get all that information out. But let's talk about some things here that I see in that question. First is, the police can't charge anybody with anything. That's not their job.
That's not what police do.
That's what prosecutors do. Prosecutors file criminal charges. So what the police are going to do is investigate, take the complaint, take witness statements, and then they're going to present a file to a prosecutor, either a city prosecutor or a county prosecutor, or maybe even a federal prosecutor, depending on what they think that might be the appropriate agency to file charges in a case like that.
Right.
So a prosecutor is going to make that decision. Now the next thing is, he says the investigators aren't really interested in hearing what somebody has to say. That's unfortunate. And I wish I could say it was rare, but it's kind of not.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
A lot of times in my experience, and frankly what makes my job kind of easy sometimes, is a lot of times once the police or investigators get their mind wrapped around what they think happened, they sort of go straight for that. They look for that evidence and kind of ignore everything to the contrary.
A little myopic?
A little bit. There's a lot of good investigators that aren't, that do a great job. But more often than I think we'd like, police kind of get in their heads, this is what happened, and only develop that type of evidence. But my advice to this person, really, and anybody that's in a situation where the police are investigating something, is just let them do what they're going to do, but back off. You're not required to talk to the police. You're not required to do anything. Those constitutional protections are there for a reason. Don't lightly give those away. Rarely are you going to talk yourself out of criminal charges. That's why they say anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Take those words very seriously. You can almost say everything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. It's almost always in your best interest just to stay silent. You can always talk. You can always confess. You can always get your story out there. There's always plenty of time to do that. You don't need to be in a rush to do that, especially if you're innocent, especially if you're not guilty.
This sounds like the perfect occasion. I mean, you could say you can always speak, to have someone who speaks for you. This is the time, if you're being charged, you know, if you've been arrested, whatever, you need to find that person who knows their way around the legal system at that point.
Absolutely. And we do something in our office. If someone is in this situation where they're under investigation but not yet charged with anything, I mean, 99% of people come to me after charges are already filed. You know, we have our fee schedule for representing people when charges are filed. But when people are in this situation, we have what we call pre-charge services. We'll represent them. We will let the investigator know, hey, this person has a lawyer. We'll send letters to prosecutors' offices and say, this person's represented by counsel. We'd like the opportunity to speak with you. If you're looking at this, we can tell our client's side of the story in our own words. Doesn't obligate them. It doesn't lock them in its story. And what we charge for that, we then, if charges are filed later, we give them a credit against their later bill, so they haven't lost any money. It's not like they have to spend extra for that.
I'm still curious about the assistant manager, though. If it winds up, it goes forward, you end up in court, and this person wants to do the right thing, how do you overcome that?
Well, what you're going to want to do in this scenario is that assistant manager, if they're willing to confess, hey, let's get that on video, let's go ahead and get that, and then we can save that, and then, you know, if the police aren't willing to do that investigation and take that statement, well, let's take it. Let's preserve that for later, because you don't know what's going to happen to that person. They might change their mind. They might decide they don't want to tell that story later. They might become unavailable. I mean, you know, people accidentally die, move, all kinds of things could happen.
Whatever. Okay, Will, you know what? If you have a legal question for Will, you can email him also at wworsham@color10.com, and he'll answer your question on the show. Interesting today. Will Worsham, thanks.
Thank you.
Got a lawyer. Yeah. We'll be right back after this.